Hey everyone, it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the 5-star books that I've read so far this year in 2022. Now this is not including the books that I read in July. I'm only going to be doing for the books that were in the first half of the year, which is, I realized as I was making this list that I was like, some of the best books that I read this year, I've actually read in July. So those will be my 5-star wrap up that I do at the end of the year. But I still read some really good books in the beginning half of the year. So there are, I think, 8. There are 8 that I'm going to be talking about today. And I've mentioned them before on my channel if you watched any of my old videos. So these are in the order in which I read them. So the first book that I gave 5 stars was actually a surprising 5 stars, and that is The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox. This book is a story of twins that switch places. And it's cute because we get both the one sister has the small town vibe, and then we also have the other sister who is I think she's the host of a morning show and does a baking thing. And it's a really cute romance, really fun. Both of the love interests one is a doctor and one is a fireman, I think. And it's a really cute romance. I really enjoyed this. It got a little bit messy toward the end, especially when they ended up screwing up each other's lives, which is inevitable. But it was really fun and I highly enjoyed this one. The next one I read was I think I listened to it on audiobook, and that is I Think I Might Love You by Christina C. Jones. I loved this. This is one that I know a lot of booktubers. This is a trilogy. It's the Love Sisters trilogy, I believe, and 2 out of the 3 I have read, and I loved the first one, which is this one. And this one is I cannot remember the character names, but our heroine has to do community service and ends up doing it with our hero at his veterinary clinic, and there is just so many laugh out loud moments. It was a fun time for sure, and there is a farting scene that I talk about all the time every time I mention this book, and it's just, I love it. I highly recommend it, and I definitely recommend listening to it on audio because the narrators are fantastic, and that's honestly the best way to read it. The second book wasn't my favorite, but this is 5-star reads, so we're not going to talk about the second book in this video. Next was another surprise for me, and that is This Is War, Baby by Kay Webster. I talked about this book a few times already on this channel. I went into this expecting it to be, because there's a lot of dark, very, very, very dark elements to this book. It is on Kay Webster's banned list. This book is banned on Amazon. The rest of the series isn't, just this one, which I thought was odd, but whatever. But we have our heroine who is kidnapped by her father's best friend / her neighbor, and he keeps her to train her up to be sold into the world of sex trafficking. She ends up being sold to our hero, who is Warren, and as soon as she is sold to him, as soon as we meet him, this entire book changes direction. And I never thought I would love a hero like him. He has a lot of trauma that happened in his past that makes him very, he has, I think, OCD, and he's a germaphobe, and I forget what the other, he just has a lot of issues that manifested because of trauma he experienced, and you do see flashbacks, and that trauma is shown on page, which could be very triggering for some people. I think that's why this book is banned. I don't see, because of the sex trafficking thing, I've read worse books that have that in it that are not banned from Amazon, so I'm just curious if it's the whole suicide, the thing that happens when he was a kid. I don't know. But by the way, it was a suicide that happens that he was witness to, and it is on page in a flashback form. So just know that going into this, there's a lot of triggers for this, but I read this book in one day and it was phenomenal. Next is probably one of my all-time favorite books, and that is Don't Kiss the Bride by Carrie Ann Cole. This one is an age gap marriage of convenience, but it's very slow burn. So we have, I remember the hero's name is Jude in this one. I don't remember the girl's name, but Jude is a construction worker. She works across the street from the school where our heroine goes to school. She is still in high school. I think she's 17. She does turn 18 at some point in the book. Before things happen, she's 18. But so she has a pretty shitty home life. She has a lot of medical issues. She has an eating disorder, so beware of that going into it if you have triggers for anything like that. And he sees this and sees she needs help, and he's in a position to help her, so he offers to marry her so she can get onto his health insurance and get the help she needs in the form of, you know, therapy and medication and all that kind of stuff. And once he realizes the kind of home life she has, she ends up moving in with him. And they become friends first, and then feelings develop. And then there is another woman trope that comes in that causes trouble, but it was fine in this. Normally I say this in a lot of videos when I talk about this trope, normally I don't like this trope, because especially if the other person's not likable. But it was alright at this, except for the drama it caused at the end. The next 5-star book I read was Waking Olivia by Elizabeth O'Rourke. Now, a couple of these, I think on my Goodreads it says 4 stars, and I remember doing my quarterly, I think it was my quarterly wrap up, and I'm like, I don't know why I gave this 4 stars, because sitting with it, now that I'm sitting with it longer, I definitely would have upped it to 5 stars. So this is my 5-star reads. So you can pretty much guarantee that anything that's on a 4-star, if it says 4-star on Goodreads and I'm talking about it in this video, it's been bumped up. Waking Olivia was so good. This was another one that I didn't expect it to go where it did, and I was very pleasantly surprised by it, and I was not upset about it at all. So Waking Olivia is also it's taboo in that he is her coach and she is his pupil. I don't even know what you would call that. Because there's the age gap is like not even, I wouldn't even call it an age gap, because it's like 4 or 5 years, which is like nothing. So anyway, she is a track star. She gets booted out of her previous university and comes to this one, but she has issues with sleep running. She had suffered some traumatic events in her past, which we do see on page and flash, and I don't know if they're flashbacks, they're kind of flashbacks, but like in dream form. Like she has these horrible dreams that cause her to sleep run, and he thinks that she is just not putting in any effort. She comes to practice late, exhausted, and he's just like, what is going on? And then when he finally learns the truth is when he steps up to help her. He gets his mom involved, and then he is also an element I don't often mention to this, like I always forget about it, is he is also like a rock climber. So there are some scenes with them climbing which are really cute. And his mom lives on a farm, which we don't see a lot of. They do go to stay at his mother's house quite a bit, but it's really cute. I like it. This book, it has dark, even though it sounds really cute and I don't know the word. It does have dark elements to it, so just be aware of that going in, that there is a lot of death, and there is death of an animal in here that is a little bit, it's quick, but you can see it coming, like you can anticipate it coming, and you're just like, no, 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 and then it happens, and you're like, okay, we're past it now. But there's just one of those things. I don't like that in books. That's one thing I don't like in books is animal abuse, but it's not drawn out to make you suffer a whole lot. So the next one is Twisted Loyalties by Cora Riley. This is the first book of the Kimura Chronicles. Now this is another one I gave 4 stars, and I was like, why? Because I loved this book. This is Fabiano and Leona, and this is a mafia romance. The Las Vegas Camorra. So we have Fabiano, who is disowned by his family. He's taken in by the Camorra and becomes their enforcer. And Leona is new to town. Her mother's in rehab. She moves in with her father, who is like a gambling addict. She goes out looking for a job, runs into Fabiano, who gets her a job. And then little do they know that, so her father's in a lot of gambling debt with his mafia. And like he knows this, but doesn't know that he is her father, and she has no idea what's going on with her dad, even though she like gives him money and like he's help pay bills and help pay off debts and stuff, so he doesn't get hurt. And it's just like this whole thing that happens. The end of this is just once it's all revealed, like the connection of everything, it's just it got to me. So I really need to read the next, I think I think it's the 3rd book is the one I really want to read, but I really need to continue on with this series like soon. The next one was another mafia romance. I was in a big mafia romance kick this year. I still am. And that's Crow by A. Zavarelli. This is the first book of the Boston Underworld series. Now this is Lachlan and Mackenzie, I believe. And Mackenzie's best friend, I think it's what she is, goes missing working at one of their clubs. So she thinks, naturally, that they have something to do with that and infiltrates the club to get close to them and find answers. And things blow up from there. It's a great story. There is a human trafficking element in this, which it may be a spoiler, but you can kind of like deduce that as you're reading it. Yes, I loved this book. The second one, Reaper, is actually not on this video because I read it in July. I think it was the first book I read in July, or the second. It was early on in the month, but I also gave that one 5 stars, and I liked that one better than this one, but this one is still a 5-star read. This series is just so good. I really need to continue on with it. I still have I have books 3 and 4. I have books 3 and 4, but I still need to read them, and that is going to be happening again as soon as possible because this series is so good. And then the last book on my list for the first half of the year is a historical, and that is The Madness of Lord Eden Mackenzie by Jennifer Ashley. I love this. Is a beloved among the romance booktube community, those who read historicals, and I can see why I love this. Ian is a character. He's on the autism spectrum, and he is just so, I love him. I do. And he has this like ability to perfectly recall conversations people have had. Like he just has that kind of memory, and it's interesting. And there's also like an underlying murder mystery that goes along with this, because when he was a kid, he was locked away in an asylum for something that he witnessed, but they think because of the way his personality and stuff is, that they think he's gone mad. But his father ends up locking him away because he saw something he shouldn't have seen. And then there's the 2 other murders that happen like later on after he gets out that is still pretty much unsolved. We have an inspector in here who is just gunning for the Mackenzie family. He is adamant that Ian did it. He just can't find the proof to prove that he did it, to put him back in jail. So even his brothers think he did it, even though Ian knows he didn't do it, and he thinks that one of his other brothers is possibly the one that did it. So there's a whole murder mystery involved in this that gets really interesting. And I love this. I want to read, this is another one, I want to read the rest of the series because this series is really long. It used to be called the Highland Pleasures series, but now it's been changed to Mackenzie's and McBride's, and there's like 20 some books in the series. I don't anticipate reading them all. I want to read the first 4. It's this one, and then there's the 3 brothers each get their book. And then I want to read, I think there's a novella where the inspector gets his own book that I want to read, I'm curious about. And then there's like a bunch in the middle that I don't know the characters that they follow. But the newest one, I think it's book 12 of the main series. There's a lot of like novellas in between, which makes why there's 20 some books in the series. But I think book 12 is the son of Beth and Ian from this book, I think. My plan is to possibly read these 4, the novella for fellows, and then go to book 12 and read that one. We'll see if that happens. That's what I want to do, but I don't know if I'll end up getting to be able to do that, so we'll see. But those are all of the 5-star reads I read so far this year. That's not too bad, actually. I did the math. I've read 39 books so far this year, but by the time the end of June, I had read 32. So there's 8 out of 32. That's a quarter of my books were 5-star reads, which is actually pretty good. And there was a lot of other ones that were 4-star. I did have a couple 2-stars. So far, it hasn't been a bad reading year. I've been more conscious of what I've been picking up because I'm getting more aware of like what I like in my romance books and my books in general. I like the dark elements, the mafia stuff. I like the MC stuff. I like anything that has a angst and drama and just keeps me just invested. So that's it for this video. Comment down below and let me know what your 5-star reads have been so far this year and if you've read any of these, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!